Dog and cat go at it. That's all right. You don't have to start cleaning up. I'm leaving everything as is at the moment.
Yeah, all right.
It's just a mess. Well, I found, a bunch of write-ups on you guys when you were out touring, and they weren't, they weren't great and they weren't bad. Actually, one was really, really, really good, and was really praising you guys.
It was tough.
Playing in Boston.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, when this was Eric's first go round on singing live, really by himself, and when you got touring and stuff like that, did you ever think about Eric singing when you were playing? Or did it ever occur to you to think about what he was singing or how he was singing?
I heard everything he sang because I sang with him. So I mean, I was dead on every word he said. I was locked in on everything that he sang because I had to be, because I wouldn't have known what and where to come in with it. If I wasn't directly in tune with him, I wasn't over there playing and not paying any attention to what he was singing. I was watching him at all times, and pretty much didn't take my eyes off of him. And I knew when it was my time to sing and what to sing, and that wouldn't happen if I wasn't listening to what he was doing.
Well, what I'm referring to is his ability to be able to sing. Some of these reviews were panning his vocal abilities.
I witnessed it getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
I witnessed him. I was the support. I put a fire under his ass, and I'm a pretty powerful singer, always have been. And I was just enough to hold him up and let him go ahead on and do what he was doing. He didn't have anything to worry about with me there, that's for sure, when it comes to vocals.
Did you ever read the reviews?
No.
Did Eric ever read them?
I think he reads a lot of stuff, but I've never been one to read those things.
Do you think it affected his feelings about what was going on with the band?
No, because he already knew it, He already knew that everybody was downplaying what he was doing, even when he started as to be a first solo thing that we did, his first solo record. The critics were just ripping him apart because he wasn't singing White Room and stuff like that,
Well, some of the reviews were very good.
Yeah, I would imagine some of them were.
But that's critics.
Yeah, and they didn't know anything. Those guys over there and down off Harley Street in those 500-pound suits, calling the shots on who's doing what. What they wanted, they wasn't getting, and Eric was doing what he wanted to do, what he knew he was supposed to do to get wherever it was he was going, with his career, his voice, and how he expresses himself. Yeah.
Well, one of the articles I found was he was just being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. This was a long time ago, back in '73 or something. And at the time in '73, so you guys were over already. He was saying that was the best thing that he'd ever done. His favorite band and the best thing he'd ever done.
It was. He's right there too. It was the best thing, and then that includes all the stuff that he's done with the chick singers and the, 2 keyboard players and all of the different configurations of it. I mean, that Tulsa bunch couldn't hold a candle to us, as the Dominoes.
Well, there's no meat and potatoes in that stuff, is there?
No, hell no, there ain't no meat and potatoes. There ain't no gravy either, and none of it. So it's not very savory. It's all contrived. He's only played one thing that I just was blown away. And he showed up to play with the band, and he had a T-shirt on, and it's called Groaning the Blues. Mm-hmm. And he had horns and all that. But that's one time he really did play. And I listened to a whole lot of Eric Clapton. And I knew everything he played up when we were together, every lick he ever played when we were together for all the years that we were together. And that was a couple of them. Yeah, I was in on every one of them. I didn't miss anything, you know. It would have spoke very highly of me had I not, you know, been in tune with it and dialed in, you know.
Well, do you remember when the whole Patty Eric press thing started happening? Would that involve you guys very much?
Not really. Not really. The story was just kind of coming around. It was just starting to bubble under, you know.
So they were using the story to really elevate the record more.
Yeah, they were using, and then it got really out of hand, you know, to elevate the record and all that. So the story of Layla, you know, was bigger than the album, you know, or the band or anything. Just that story.
Well, even some people were saying they were just getting sick and tired of hearing the story.
Yeah.
And more of the story, more about the story of that than the record itself.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, who cares? You know,
well, I think they were using that as...
They wound up, he was with her for, you know, a couple of years until it was time to get out. And it was time to get out before he got in. You know, so it was all a ruse anyway. Right. You know, they weren't in love. That was some kind of fanciful thing that was going on in his head and her head. Right. You know, what it did cost was some people their life, you know. They had to turn around and change their lives.
Well, maybe it changed for the better.
Well, yeah, of course it did, George. You know, his life, you know, was
George
fruitful after. And I would imagine he was grateful that Eric took her off his hands, you know. I mean, that woman he wound up with was a fine woman. They had a handsome young man for a son, and he's taken right after his daddy. So, you know, that was the right thing to do. And Eric flip-flopped around for years and years, and then finally he landed the person of his that's supposed to be with him for at least this long with all of his girls and stuff. Right. So his life turned out like he wanted. He wanted to have a family and all of that, you know.
Well, don't you think everybody that survived did much better after all of that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I was glad to walk away from it, you know. So I could claim ownership of myself. Right. You know, I wasn't indebted to Robert Stigwood or Eric Clapton or David Shaw or any of that bunch. You know, I'm standing on my own 2 feet, you know.
Well, it sounded like one of those things that probably need to break up anyway in the end.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, it was getting too thick. And too thick for me, you know. And I'm used to thick gravy, but not when it's got a bunch of lumps in it like that, you know. No offense, but, you know, that wasn't how I saw my life. Someone being in control of my life, you know.
Well, in the music business, that's what happens.
If you let it happen, and you know,
someone's
and
in
become
control
a puppet
of it.
For somebody.
Someone's in control of it. Most artists, anyone successful, is going to have, you know, to answer to somebody for something. You know, I didn't compromise.
Yeah, I know, compromise. I couldn't see that. Eric told me one time when we stopped on the side of the road, ran into him, and we pulled over. He pulled over on the side of the road, and we were just standing there talking. And he had that rock and roll heart. I've got a rock and roll heart. Troy Seals wrote this song. Nashville guy, Nashville songwriter. But Eric, I said, "What in the hell is that about?" You know. And he said, "Well, I had to compromise with Warner Brothers. Right, I had to compromise and do songs that I wouldn't have normally done, and playing synthesizers and all sorts of stuff, just so he can be contemporary and have the label on his side,
stay in the charts and all that."
Well, yeah, I drove away knowing that I hadn't compromised and I didn't intend on doing it. And no, I can't compromise my integrity in every way for the sake of being who and what I am already anyhow. You know, I'm famous. I'm Bobby Whitlock. I did what I did with them. And nothing can change what I did. Even, they might not talk about me that much. That's quite all right. I know, and the people that knows. No, I don't care if my name isn't getting waved around like a flag. I'm happy being right here with you and us making our own decisions in our life, you know, about where we're going to be, what we're going to do, where we're going to live, who we're going to be with, you know, who are we going to conduct our business with. We have full control over our life, you know, and I think that's the way it should be. It's always been that way with me. I couldn't, had I compromised my personal integrity to be a big rock star sooner and all of that, I certainly wouldn't have made it, because I've always been in tune with myself. I've been my best friend all of my years, you know, and that's 70, going on 73 years. And since I knew who I was, and I was real little when I knew who I was, I remained my best friend, you know.
It's good to be your own best friend.
Huh?
It's rare, and it's good to be your own best friend.
Yeah, because that was all I had. That was the only somebody I had, was me. So I've tried to stay right with me forever, you know. I knew I wasn't treating myself good when I was drugging and drinking, but something I had to go through, and I went through it. I don't look back, you know. I just keep going forward, you know. Yeah.